Let's bring in the Thames Valley Police and Crime Commissioner, Matthew Barber, because in your area, shoplifting charges have increased by 98%. How have you made a difference?
Well, actually, those numbers have increased now over the last month. Over the last 12 months, that's now up to 111% increase in charges for shoplifting. And it's been a real concerted effort. I made clear to the Chief Constable in Thames Valley that I recognise the scale of the problem and that we really need to tackle it, because it's not just about the loss of stock, important though that is, but as you've just heard, it's about the impact that it has on staff, on small businesses. It has a real impact on people's lives. People will be scared to go to work. That has a real impact that really matters. So what we've been doing is improving the reporting for businesses, making it easier for businesses to report and to share intelligence like CCTV, focusing on prolific offenders. We know that a vast amount of shoplifting, certainly the organised crime that you've heard about there from Michelle, will be committed by a relatively small number of people. So each of our local policing areas in Thames Valley have identified their top 20 perpetrators and frankly, just going after the bad guys and getting them locked up. And we've had some real success in targeting those most prolific offenders. Now, of course, we haven't solved the problem yet in Thames Valley, but it is about that concerted effort to recognise this really does matter. The police need to respond and need to work in partnership with businesses. You know, some of those things that you've heard about there that Vince has done are fantastic. Businesses need to work together with the police to prevent crime. That really matters. And we've established a local partnership with organisations like the Association of Convenience Stores that you did your joint report with, so that they are working collectively with the police to tackle problems that might arise, to focus on prolific offenders, but also to start working on the supply chain, because that's the bit that nobody ever talks about. Certainly in the case of organised gangs, these goods are being sold somewhere. They're not just being used for someone's own private consumption. So we need to look at that whole supply chain and identify where the criminals are selling these things.
111% increase, I think, was the figure you quoted there in terms of shoplifting charges by your police force. What percentage of call-outs from shops do you attend? Because we just heard Michelle there saying that she doesn't feel that there are enough police to attend every call for every case of shoplifting.
So I think what I've been really keen to do with retailers is to set expectations. So if you've got a case of some shoplifting that's taken place earlier in the day and someone will spot on CCTV, they've identified a suspect, you don't necessarily need the police to turn up to that offence, because the CCTV can be sent in, you can take statements electronically or over the phone. But what retailers really need to know is when they've got someone in that store, then where they perhaps detained someone, that the police will attend. And that is the expectation that I have of Thames Valley Police. We monitor those. So we're up in, I think, the 90% mark of where you've got someone in the store, the police will seek to attend. And often what you see on social media can create a false impression sometimes. We had a really nasty case that was shared on social media about a month or so ago, showing criminals behind a counter in a convenience store, ransacking the place, as sadly too often that you see. And of course, that creates the impression that the police are doing nothing. In reality, in that case, the police attended, they identified the offenders. Within 3 days, both of those men were in custody and they've been charged with burglary offences, not just shoplifting. So actually, the police response can be really positive, but we need to make sure that when the retailers really need someone to be there, that they are there. But we set those expectations so that actually, if you don't need a police attendance now, much better that the police can get on and investigate that crime rather than simply attending for the sake of it, and really focusing on those crimes that can be solved.
OK, you've said a lot of good stuff there.
And collectively, I think, we have all got to work together. And I really appreciate, it's those words there. We do need to work together, because if we work together, then the good people will win.
You raised a really good point there. And I just want to put this, we are running out of time, but I want to put this to Matthew Barber. In terms of charges, how many of those charges actually turn into convictions? Because that's what Vince's talking about there.
Yeah, I completely agree. That is a big challenge. And it's not just which turn into convictions, but then what is the consequence of those convictions? What are the consequences for those criminals? That's not within the gift of the police. That's not within my gift as Police and Crime Commissioner. But we see too many cases going to court. I've got a list of cases at the moment where we've seen them go to court, they've pleaded guilty, and then they've been bailed ahead of sentencing. So you've got people who've already pleaded guilty to an offence who are going to be out there committing more crime in the run to prison.
OK, well, thank you, Matthew, for such a short and concise answer, because we were running out of time, but I really wanted to ask that question at the end there. That's Matthew Barber, Thames Valley Police and Crime Commissioner. Also joining us tonight, Vince Malone, shopkeeper from Tenby, and Michelle Whitehead, a convenience store worker, talking about the epidemic of shoplifting here in the UK. Thank you.